Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Okay, I'm going to start with a question. Raise your hand. Don't shout it out. Raise your hand if you can tell me what this is. What is it? A menorah. That is correct. It is a menorah. It's a special kind of menorah. What kind of menorah is it? A Chanukiah. So, Venn diagram, all of the menorahs in the world, subset, Chanukiot. Why do we know this is a Chanukiah, or how do we know it's a Chanukiah? Because it has a genius. You are promoted to 5th grade immediately. So yes, it has 8 branches and then the shamash, the helper branch. And this is actually not the original menorah. The Hebrew word menorah comes from the root or, which means light. It means a candelabra or a lampstand. The original menorah is described in great detail in this week's Torah portion. I call it the OM. That's the original menorah. It's the OG menorah. And that's what we learn about. This week's is actually 1,000 years older probably than the Chanukiah. So it's much more ancient. And it stood first in the Mishkan, which was the sanctuary that was portable, the tabernacle that we moved around the desert with. And then later, it stood in the temple in Jerusalem. And the Torah describes the menorah in beautiful and extraordinary detail. One verse gives us a sense of its beauty. It says in chapter 25, verse 31, "You shall make a menorah of pure gold. The menorah shall be made of hammered work." Now, we don't know what the original menorah looked like for certain, but we do know how it is described in the Torah. And so I asked Gemini to help create an image, and there it is. And this is based on, you can't really see all of the little diagrams, but I put in all of the verses, and I said, please craft an image that really is true to that. And I believe that's Rabbi Stern there on the right. I'm not sure. That's the high priest, and I don't know where that came from. But it tells us in the Torah that the menorah is 18 handbreadths high. 18 handbreadths, so that's one handbreadth. So if you stack 18 of them, it's about 5.5, 6 feet. Of course, it depends on the size of the hand. So there you have it. But that is something like that is what the menorah looks like. And it tells us that there's this central shaft, and then it's got these 6 branches, 3 on each side. And it says that it was decorated with cups, and that's where you would put the olive oil. And the cups were shaped like almond blossoms, like buds, and like petals. So let me ask you, something like that with a center part and then branches on the sides with petals, what does that remind you of? What does it kind of remind you of? What do you think? What'd you say? Yeah? A tree. That's exactly right. It's supposed to remind you a little bit of the tree. The branches, that makes you think of a tree, but then it actually tells us that it should have these petals on it, and not just any kind of petals. It says they should be petals from an almond tree. Now, what's special about almond trees? Does anyone know about that? What's so special about almond trees? Yeah. Well, that's beautiful. Almond trees, the fruit of an almond tree is an almond. That is absolutely right. But what do we know about almond trees? Yeah. Yeah, say it out loud, yeah. The shkedia, in Hebrew, it's called shkedia, and according to our tradition, it's the first one to blossom. It's the first tree to blossom. So some people say the reason it's supposed to be almond blossoms is to teach us that whenever we bring light into the world, should we wait around to bring light into the world? Should we lollygag about to bring? No. What should we do? Bring it right away. Okay, so, but now I want to show you something about this. This is an AI representation of what the candelabra, the menorah, might look like. But we actually know with some degree of certainty what the candelabra actually looked like. Raise your hand if you've been to Rome. Raise your hand if you went to visit the Arch of Titus. Now, Jews are not supposed to walk under the Arch of Titus. Here is a picture of the actual Arch of Titus in Rome. Who built it, by the way? A guy named? The Arch of Titus was built by Thank you. Okay, that took a beat. Titus built the Arch of Titus, and it was a tribute to who? Titus, because sometimes leaders like to do those things. So he made a tribute to himself, and he said, aren't I great? I fought a war against the Jews, and I defeated them in the year 70 of the Common Era. And what do we see? This is a zooming in on the relief. What are they carrying on their shoulders there? They're carrying a menorah on their shoulders. And this is a structure that was built about 2,000 years ago. So if you want to know what the menorah looked like, it probably looked like that, because that was an artist, a Roman artist's representation of the menorah. Side note, what does that mean about where the menorah is probably today? Many of you have heard me say this. It's a strong feeling I have. It's a strong theory I have, and I want to do something about this. Where do you think that original menorah might be today? Where? In the bedroom of the Pope in Rome, possibly. Yes, sir. It's probably, well, it could be inside the Arch of Titus. You know what? That's a great idea. I never thought of looking in there. That is a great idea. Probably in the Vatican somewhere. And I've done a lot of reading about this. The Vatican, if you're listening, the Vatican denies having the menorah. Wink, wink. If you know anything about the whereabouts of the menorah, call me at the temple anytime you want. So, somewhere in Rome probably is the original menorah. Now, we already talked about this. Why design a lamp to look like a flowering tree? And it's not just a flowering tree. What happens when you take an object that looks like a tree, and then on the top you pour in olive oil, pure, perfect olive oil, so that there's no smoke and no odor, and then you light it? What does that tree become? What is it? What is it? It's a tree that's on fire, okay? It's a tree that's on fire. Now, let me ask you this. When I say a tree that's on fire in a room full of Jews, what do you think of? The burning bush. That's exactly right. Now, this you can't see so well, but this is a painting, a representation of the burning bush. Here's another one that I like better. This is by the great Jewish artist Marc Chagall, and this is his representation of Moses. You can see the aura that Moses has, these carne or, this light coming from him as he stands in front of the burning bush. So now let's see if we can put it all together. This week's Torah portion commands us to build a menorah. We have ascertained what the menorah is with the help of AI. We even know what it probably looked like. Then we saw from the Arch of Titus what it actually was represented as by artists from Rome 2,000 years ago. But then we noted it's not just a tree, it's a tree on fire. The tree on fire connects us to the burning bush. Put it all together. Why? Why should, because you could just represent this in a lot of different ways, but why is it represented as a tree that's on fire? And so here's what I want to suggest to you. If we had more time, we could really talk this out and figure it out together, but I'm going to just suggest it to you. What does Moses experience when he comes before the burning bush? He experiences an awareness of God's presence in the world. And in order for Moses to notice that the bush is burning unconsumed, Moses actually has to be still for a moment. And that's hard to do, especially in our world where there's so much coming at us all the time. It's coming at us, it's coming at us, it's coming at us. But we have to find a moment to be still. And if we can find a moment to be still, maybe we can see a little bit of God in the world, and we can have an awareness of God. And what is the purpose of the awareness of God? We know this from Moses. What was Moses' life mission beyond getting the Israelites to the promised land? And he did a great job of that. But his core mission happened at Mount Sinai. It was to be, and Moses is considered in our tradition, the lawgiver. So the purpose of all that light was to bring order into the chaos. The purpose of all that light was to give us a sacred mission, to fulfill the mitzvot and to be the kind of people that God wants us to be. And so that is our opportunity. And that is really the message of the menorah, to experience that awareness at the burning bush that Moses experienced for a purpose. And the purpose is to bring light into the world. The last picture I want to show you is one from Jerusalem. A lot of you have probably visited this. This is the famous menorah that is right outside of the Knesset, the parliament in Israel. It's right there, and you can see it's beautifully designed, and there's all these different reliefs that tell the story of the Jewish people. But it is a reminder that the ancient menorah that is probably in Rome, but we don't know for certain, but we haven't seen it in almost 2,000 years, but that the ancient menorah is not just a symbol, it is a physical object that we can continue to be inspired by. And our job is to try not only to reflect the light and to kindle the light, but I'm going to suggest to each and every one of you, fifth graders and younger siblings and older siblings and parents and grandparents and everybody in this room and everybody joining from home, the purpose of the menorah is for us to be the light, to bring light into the world in the darkness, in the chaos, when everything seems upside down. We don't curse the darkness, we kindle a light and we bring light to the world. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may this be God's will, and may this be our will as well. Shabbat Shalom.